Hey there guys, SCL3618 here. Today we're taking a look at the brand new release of the Broadway Limited Paragon 3 F7A unit in the Santa Fe Warbonnet livery. This is actually a locomotive I've wanted for a while, back when Blue Line was a thing, but never got around to it until now. So, per usual, we're just going to do like a basic detail and sound overview up here, take it to the club layout and cut it loose, and give you all my overall impression on this brand new batch of locomotives. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Okay, so before I dive too deep into the locomotive, you notice for once I've actually left the track power on for this demonstration because this thing is loaded with lights, but we're going to do that in just a second. One thing I wanted to cover real quick was the packaging. The Steam channel and his GG1 review did mention this. This is something you guys might want to know about if you're just looking ahead. So the new Broadway box design is basically cardboard sleeve and the foam insert right inside. Now, this is to save cost, I get it, and this locomotive came packed very well. You see you've got the brackets, foam padding of the headlight. I don't think it would have gotten beaten up too bad in shipment, but just know that you're no longer getting the multi-piece box and instead getting the box and the sleeve. So if that concerns you, that's something you just might want to know about. My overall impression right out of the box, this is nice. This is very much so a sleeper locomotive. I didn't expect much. You know, my last review of a Broadway product, the S44, wasn't so great. I didn't know what to expect with this. But right out of the box, this is very well done. I'll just pick the camera up and run alongside the engine so you guys can see. The F7 I picked because it had more detail. I mean, you can see there's RS5T on the roof, separate grabs, cab lighting, full cab interior. The nose has all the grabs you'd want. Front end, same thing. I mean, honestly, the only thing missing compared to the Genesis is the set of airline and MU cables. That's it. This thing is stupid good for the price point. It's not overly top shelf, but it's very well done. See, the paint application is very crisp and clean. The bonnet color is nice. It's kind of it's a darker but still a vivid shade of red. I know the camera's going to make it look a little flat, but that's just this Sony camera I'm working with. But really good. One nice thing, you know, it does come with illuminated class lights. These are red. I think white or green would have been cooler in my opinion, but that's just me. Full cab interior, which I'll actually move the camera in so you guys can see that. Alright, coming back alongside, fuel tank detail, very respectable. The fill glass isn't really colored in, but everything else is. Stop switch, everything else. It looks good. I mean, it's an F unit. It's not going to be crazy detail, but it'll work good. One thing I do want to point out, and a lot of people might not expect this out of the box, that's an etched metal piece, just like the old school Intermountain and Athearn Genesis. A lot of people probably assumed, oh hey, they're new molded plastic. No, they actually went with the separate etched metal part. That's very well done, and big kudos to Broadway for that. See all the grabs and the railings, everything looks good, step detail's good. Truck detail's very nice. I mean, it's not, I like the fact it's actually manageable. You don't have a speed recorder, but the airlines are there. Everything looks good. So you've got on the back, you actually have a sprung diaphragm. I think this is their rubber or plastic piece, kind of like on the Daylight coaches. All the MU and airlines you could want. This is not underdone, and I'm very appreciative of that fact. It looks good. And cruising right on down, you see the same thing. I mean, I'm going to bring the camera back just to here so you guys can see the paint finish and just overall. The kitchen lighting's not the best right now, but you can kind of see it does really well with the silver and red. One thing I forgot to mention while it was up front, this thing does have separately applied windshield wipers, so that's a nice touch. Again, for the price point, this locomotive has a lot more than I expected it to. Alright, so just for fun, y'all remember I said this thing was stupidly close to a Genesis? Well, there you go. This is the most recent batch of the Yellow Bonnet F7As, and here's the Broadway side by side. Again, these are stupidly close on detail. If you didn't know any better, the only thing different, one, is the paint color. Number two, the Broadway again lacks the MU and airlines that the Genesis has. Class lights are there, the nose grabs, and we'll tilt it over this way so you can see what I mean. So we'll focus on the Athearn first, and then there's the Broadway. You can see these are very close. And again, if you didn't know any better, you might think they were the same. Overall, track weight, the Athearn's a little bit heavier. It doesn't have the limp truck feature that the Broadway has, so like when you pick it up, you see it kind of goes a little wonky. Beyond that, respectable weight. You probably, if you're going to be pulling a big train though, I'd grab the B unit. Okay, so when you first kick track power on, the cab light and the marker light come on. We'll hit the headlight, number boards, markers, and headlight come on. These are all separate functions though. So function 24 handles the number boards. class lights are 28. I wish they would try color, but hey, red works for me. F7 is your Mars light. It's kind of just on and off, and of course F0 is your headlight. Out of the box, I'm already liking the Broadway a lot more to the Genesis, lighting-wise, because everything's here and ready that you want, minus maybe an emergency light and everything else. Performance-wise, that's another game, but we're going to get to that in just a minute. Okay, so we'll just do a base performance test. This is with the locomotive muted. You're going to hear a high-pitched whining. This is a combination of Broadway's Rolling Thunder electronics and their motor. Nothing's wrong, nothing's out of whack, it's just the way it sounds. So when you're running, that's masked a lot more by the track noise and the locomotive itself. But I believe I've been told, you know, they use a different pole motor, the electronics, and that supposedly contributes to the failure rate of the Paragon 3 stuff. I don't know whether that's true or not, but that's supposedly the most feasible option I've heard. So I've muted the locomotive to start up so you guys get to hear all the other sounds, horn and bell. Bell-wise, here's the basic one. I actually really like that because you hear the trail in and out of the bell and the clapper. It sounds really good. Okay, so the Broadways, of course, have 3 horns, including an alt horn. So here's with CV 224 to 0. This is when you get out of the box. .224 to a value of 1. Very nice echo on that M5. And 224 to a value of 2. Very nice Leslie. It sounds like a mix of a 3L and a 5T, but given the Santa Fe's had the 5Ts, I'm probably going to keep this on there for most running. Alt horns function 22. Let's take the locomotive out of mute. One thing I would like to note ahead of time, the sounds are going to sound a little flat, and this is because of the Rolling Thunder. I mean, the way it works is they broadcast the lower frequencies to the subwoofer, so you hear more bass, but the bass sound files are very kind of lacking in bass and higher pitch. So that's, if it sounds flat, that's why. I can't say I'm the biggest fan of it because I don't really need Rolling Thunder, but it's not bad overall. Coupler slap on F3. Alright, we'll go through the notches. This is done via function 5 and 6. One nice thing with this, Broadway's actually up the RPM levels, so there was 8 notches pressing that. It did take a while to come back down, but I think that's also my Zephyr being stupid as it has been lately. But yeah, you actually do have 8 notches to go through instead of the usual stop at like 4 or 5. So that's an improvement. Good to see them doing it. I think I actually saw on their Facebook page they were recording the sound, so this is a step up. Lock sound is the base for any good EMD 567 block in my opinion. So I think there's room for improvement, but you know, it is what it is. The Rolling Thunder, I'm sure it sounds a lot better with that subwoofer in the bass, but out of the box, a little flat. Okay, so again, we're muted. That tells you anything. Probably the first thing I'm doing in this locomotive, I'm dropping that prime mover down so you can actually hear the horn, atmospheric sounds, and all the other cool stuff. But yeah, overall, not bad at all. This is much better than I was expecting. So price point. I believe I saw this on, you know, like model train stuff for like $190. I'll go ahead and tell you, if you can get it from the Broadway refurb site, after shipping I ended up paying like $185. That's more than fair, and you're getting a factory refurb, so if there's any bugs, it's been fixed, it's good to go. I like buying the refurbs because number one, you get a better warranty, you get a better price, and that's just something I like to work with. And I've done it for a lot of my locomotives that are still ticking to this day. And y'all have seen how long I've been filming Broadway stuff. So that's a little cheat code I like to follow. But overall, guys, I like this locomotive. I think it's well done. It's a great value for the money, especially if you're like me. You wanted a Warbonnet F unit, but you didn't want to dump X amount of money on an old Genesis or spend a lot of time upgrading. This thing, I mean, worst comes to it, I just take the Paragon 3 out and I put it in a lock sound down the road. But this has all the light functions ready to go that I could want, and it's a pretty good little runner. So as per running, stay tuned for the end. I'm going to show you all a running montage at the end of all this. But thank you for watching. I hope this is informative in your buying decisions, and thank you again for the continued support.